Hi there. Welcome to Beneath the Silent Stars, a podcast about exploring the mysteries that keep us up at night. I'm Julia, your host, and ever since I was a kid, I've been fascinated by things that defy explanation. UFOs, cryptids, government cover-ups. You name it. If it's strange, I want to know more. Welcome back to Beneath the Silent Stars, where we uncover the truths hidden in shadows. I'm Julia, your host, and if you've been following along, you know we've been exploring the letters my father left behind, his experiences with the unknown, and the way they've started to connect to my own life. In this episode, I'll share another letter, one where he describes an encounter that changed everything for him. It's about the night he saw what he called the light in the field. But it's not just his story we'll be unraveling. I'll also talk about what I've discovered in my research and the unsettling way his words have begun to echo in my own experiences. The letter I'm about to read was written on July 3rd, 1987. It's one of the most detailed accounts he left me. Here's what it says. Julia, there's something I need you to know, something I've tried to ignore but can't anymore. It happened 2 weeks after I first saw the light in the sky. I was driving home late one night, the road empty, the fields stretching out on either side. That's when I saw it again. Not in the sky this time, but on the ground. It was a light, Julia, bright, but not blinding. It pulsed like a heartbeat, low and steady, as though it were alive. I pulled over, drawn to it, even though every instinct told me to drive away. I stepped out of the car and walked toward the field. The air felt electric, heavy, like it was holding its breath. As I got closer, the world around me seemed to shift. The crickets fell silent, the breeze stopped, and it felt as though time itself had slowed. My legs felt like they were wading through something thick and invisible, as though the light was pushing back against me, testing my resolve. And then I saw it. The light wasn't coming from above. It was rising out of the ground, like it was seeping through the earth itself, illuminating the tall grass in an eerie, unnatural glow. Standing there, I felt exposed. It wasn't just looking at me. It was peeling me apart. Every thought, every memory, every fear I'd ever buried seemed to surface all at once. It was as if the light was probing my very soul, pulling me apart piece by piece. A sound accompanied the light. Soft at first, almost imperceptible. It was a low hum, like the resonance of a tuning fork vibrating through my bones. It grew louder the longer I stood there, until it felt like my body might come apart under the weight of it. I don't know how long I stood there, transfixed, but eventually, fear won. I turned and ran back to the car, my legs barely carrying me as though the field itself wanted to hold me back. The light didn't follow. It stayed, pulsing in the field, as if watching, waiting for something I couldn't comprehend. When I finally reached the car, I sat behind the wheel, trembling, unable to start the engine. When I looked back toward the field, the light was gone. There was nothing but darkness and silence, as though it had never been there at all. I've been back to that spot during the day, hoping to find some trace of it, burned grass, disturbed soil, anything. But there's nothing, just grass and dirt. But at night, when I close my eyes, I can still see it, and I can feel it watching. This letter shook me. My father had always been so grounded, so rational. To hear him describe something so otherworldly, so intimate in its terror, it's hard to reconcile with the man I thought I knew. But what unsettled me even more was how familiar his description felt. In my research, I've come across similar stories. Encounters with lights that seem alive, intelligent. People describe the same feeling of being exposed, of having something peer into their very souls. It's not just fear they feel. It's a sense of being known, deeply and completely. And that terrifies me. One case that comes to mind is the 1976 Tehran UFO incident. Iranian fighter pilots encountered a luminous object over the city. When they attempted to intercept it, their weapons systems and instrumentation malfunctioned, leaving them defenseless. Witnesses on the ground described a bright light that seemed to move intelligently, reacting to both the jets and the people watching below. This encounter remains one of the most well-documented cases of a UFO actively interfering with human technology. Another chilling account is the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter in 1955, where a rural Kentucky family claimed they were under siege by strange humanoid figures with glowing eyes and claw-like hands. These beings seemed to emerge from bright lights in the surrounding woods, moving deliberately as if studying the family. The encounter lasted for hours, with the family firing weapons in an attempt to defend themselves. Despite their efforts, the lights and figures seemed undeterred, vanishing by dawn and leaving behind only fear and confusion. Then there's the 1980 Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK. Over 2 nights, multiple military personnel stationed at RAF Bentwaters reported seeing a pulsating, triangular craft emitting beams of light. When they approached, some described feeling an unexplainable pressure in the air, as if it was alive and responding to their presence. Physical evidence, including imprints on the ground and increased radiation levels, was found at the site, yet no conclusive explanation was ever given. Much like the light my father described, this one seemed intelligent, as though it was observing and responding to those who dared to approach. These stories, like my father's, leave behind more questions than answers. Were these lights merely observing, or were they trying to communicate? And why do so many people, across different times and places, describe the same haunting sense of being known? I can't help but wonder, was the light in the field connected to the dreams he wrote about? Or was it something else entirely? And why didn't it follow him? Why did it stay, pulsing in the darkness, like it was waiting for something? These encounters raise deeper questions about our place in the universe. If these lights, these intelligences, are truly observing us, what does that mean? Are we part of some experiment, a subject of curiosity for beings beyond our comprehension? Or are they trying to communicate, to offer us something we've yet to understand? The idea of contact with non-human intelligence isn't just unsettling, it's transformative. It challenges everything we know about reality, our understanding of consciousness, and our role in the cosmos. Philosophers and scientists alike have debated this. What happens to humanity when we're no longer alone? Will it unite us in awe or divide us in fear? And then there's the personal implication. If my father felt exposed, known in ways that unsettled him to his core, what does that say about these beings? Are they benevolent observers or something darker? And why do they choose to reveal themselves to certain people at certain times? These questions keep me up at night, and lately I've started noticing things. Shadows that move when they shouldn't. Lights that flicker, not just in my house, but in places I visit. It's like his story isn't just a memory. It's alive, and it's creeping closer. In the next episode, I'll share a discovery I made about that field, something my father never mentioned but might hold the key to understanding what happened to him. Until then, keep looking to the skies. And if you see a light, be careful. It might be looking back.